Hello and welcome to the Nintendo Switch Online Game Club, the show where we play through the games available on Nintendo's various NSO apps, completely at random. I'm your host, Derrick, and in this episode I'm joined by Creepy Elliot, editor, streamer, and member of the Super Gaming Brothers. How you doing, Elliot?
Whip.
I like it.
I'm doing good. I'm excited to see what we got going on today.
Oh, same here. And the returning Uncle Silver, who's here to hopefully play a better game than last time. Because if you hadn't seen before, he was part of our infamous Bamboozle stream, which is still the worst game we've played on this game club, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
How you doing, Craig?
Doing pretty good. Statistically speaking, it can't possibly get worse. So
you would think not, but I think there are
good.
worse on this service. We'll see if I ever get them, but
I don't know.
We'll find out. But as you're likely aware, there are now over 200 games across the NSO, and while some are widely known like Super Mario Brothers and Zelda, there are some odd picks that could be considered hidden gems. We honestly don't know. So what we'll be doing is entering all those games into a randomizer, picking one, and then giving our initial thoughts. And this week, the Wheel of Games has chosen Shadow of the Ninja for the NES. And honestly, based on, because when we got this last time, none of us knew anything about this. Like, I'd seen the box art, and I think, Greg, you said you'd seen a few screens or something like that.
I had seen some screens, and whenever games pop up on this service, I try them out. I give them a shot for 5-10 minutes just to see. So I knew that I had tried it, but I couldn't possibly tell you anything about it other than remembering what the screen, like what the title screen and the logo looked like. But other than that, and it had something to do with ninjas.
There's a lot of ninja games on the NES, let's be honest.
At least one.
But yeah. It's the NES. There's always going to be at least 10, 15 games with ninjas every year.
They were so cool in the 90s and late 80s. They were just the thing.
Yeah.
But upon hearing that we picked this game, what was your thought, Elliot?
I had no idea of the game whatsoever. Like all I saw were the screenshots, and I'm like, oh, okay. It was like co-op Ninja Gaiden. And then Natsume is like, oh, so this is mixed now. It's like, now we got to figure out what we're dealing with.
Is Harvest Moon and Wild Guns Natsume, or is it, what is bad Natsume? I'm not sure. Modern Natsume.
Yeah. it might have been this. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, because we didn't know anything, we actually went to Wikipedia once we found out what this is, because we were like, okay, we got to have something to say about this thing other than because as fun as it would be to go in, I guess, completely blind, we are here to give preconceptions, and I think we're still able to achieve that, because looking at this at first glance, it looks like, oh, it's a Ninja Gaiden clone. Okay, sure. That's might be good, might be bad. Hard to tell what's one way or the other. But it is unique in several ways. One, it is co-op. It is there is a second player that plays a kunoichi in the game, so you have that whole aspect. And it got pretty good reviews upon release. Like, it actually held up. It was considered pretty good. It's considered graphically impressive at the time. So it does have some quality behind it, seemingly. But the other weird thing is that there's other oddities surrounding this. Like, apparently they were making a Game Boy sequel to this game that somehow got picked up by Tecmo, and it became Ninja Gaiden Shadow for the Game Boy. It's technically a Shadow of the Ninja game. So they're just sort of linked up. And then you discovered, Greg, that apparently there's a remake coming.
Yeah. It looks incredible.
It looks really good.
The remake actually looks incredible. It's called Shadow of the Ninja Reborn. Looks like it's coming out on Steam, and I don't know what I saw, if it was a pre-order or if it was just a box mock-up, but through Play Asia, apparently there's a physical copy.
Yeah,
so the game's coming to the Switch.
Yeah, for Play Asia, they usually have physical media. So
yeah, but I wasn't sure if it was a pre-order or if this was something that had already come out. But it looks like the game is probably not out yet. The preview trailer that's on YouTube that I looked at is from August.
Okay. So It might not be out yet.
Yeah.
It might be a 2024 game. So we're sort of giving the heads up here that like it might be something else. We've not looked at gameplay from the NES version, but this reborn version, like it seems like high octane action with just crap happening at all times. It just looks really good.
If it's anything even remotely like that, it's going to be fun.
From a quick search, it says the remake won't be out until like probably around spring next year.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we're just getting.
So we got time.
Yeah, we're just getting in early on it, but it's also like doesn't seem to be a long game. So this might be one of those that because I think you saw like it was a 26-minute long play.
Yeah. Something. I mean, when you watch long play videos, a lot of the time they're really good at the game. So we're obviously going to be fumbling through it.
Yeah.
I feel like this might be one of the few games for the game club that we play without a lot of the game club features, right? Because how many games have you done here that we think, oh, I don't know that I would have played this back in the day without the rewind feature or save states. If the game is 26 minutes long, this might be one that we actually play through just straight up.
Yeah, unless it's like NES hard or limited continues, that sort of idea.
Well, then again, don't jinx it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there are definitely tricks in here. It's like, okay, the game's short, but we need them to rent it again and again. So you keep trying.
Statements like that is how you get bamboozled twice.
To be fair, though, as a hidden gem, that probably means that people didn't rent it multiple times, so they were able to beat it the first time through. You'll excuse me while I huff my copium and convince myself that it's not going to be Nintendo hard. It's not Silver Surfer.
What would a copium hookah bar be called? I don't even know. I'm trying to think of a good pun, but I got nothing.
Complacence.
There we go.
There we go.
I like it.
Sure.
And to be honest, as far as being a Ninja Gaiden clone, I mean, there have been a lot of Ninja Gaiden clones. I mean, I feel like any platformer with ninjas, people call a Ninja Gaiden clone. But if you're gonna copy any kind of game, you might as well copy one of the better ones that were out there. I mean, Ninja Gaiden, for all its flaws, it was obviously iconic, but I love those games. I always got a kick out of those.
I've only played the first Ninja Gaiden. I was close to beating it, but I didn't beat it.
Ooh.
I played the second one. Second one's so good.
And I also played the Xbox game.
Yes, that one.
Okay.
And also Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword on the DS.
I hear that one's actually pretty good.
It was my first DS. It was my first DS game, and it is really good. Like, it's such a good game.
I've heard that from multiple people, which is you wouldn't expect it, but yes, it works. But yeah, I remember the Ninja Gaiden for Xbox was a big deal at the time because it was very pretty, but also was like, oh god, this is really hard. I tried it at a friend's house and like, oh my god, it is kicking my ass. What the hell?
That's when you play Ninja Gaiden Black.
Yeah.
Is that a Sigma? What wasn't one of them?
I think
Ninja
Sigma
Gaiden
is
Sigma?
the most up to date version because they released that Ninja Gaiden Sigma trilogy or something like that.
They did release the trilogy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now,
checking out.
Dan Alpha Line has mentioned this. They did a little preview of they heard and what they watched the announcement thing from the NSO. Those little trailers they put out.
Okay.
And they listened to that and they said the music's actually really good. So the reception here, if we look at all this, is that GamePro gave it a near perfect score and called it an above average ninja fare with a top of the line graphics and fast paced gameplay. It was all great for that. EGM praised the graphics and sound at the time. And then granted, this came out in 1990. So
all right, so we're the second, at least the second half of the NES, last third, maybe. I mean, this is obviously when the cream of the crop starts to pop up and you start to get the games that are really taking advantage of the hardware. So should be something really special.
I'm hoping so. It's like we found some hidden gems on this series here and there, but I have not come across one that's like a true hidden gem. Like I'd say the closest is that I've encountered personally is something like Light Crusader, which is the treasure game, and that's
the funny thing is you said hidden treasure, and I'm thinking back to previous episodes, and that's the one that came to mind.
Yeah.
Because when I played that game, I thought, man, this game is actually pretty decent. I was actually really surprised. It's a little weird. There's a little disconnect between certain things, and I've always had a dislike of isometric movement games back then. But even with that in mind, I was like, this is actually pretty decent. I'm really surprised.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one, and just for some comparison sakes here, I checked it out. So the original Ninja Gaiden came out in 1988. Ninja Gaiden 2 for NES came out in 1990, but in May. This Shadow of the Ninja came out in December. So there was 2 games of Ninja Gaiden out by the time Shadow of the Ninja was released. So we got
just
that
for comparison. For comparison, when did the third game get released?
The third game was released in 1991.
91.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean by that point you had like Wrath of the Black Manta, which was on the NES. You had Ninja Spirit, which was on TurboGrafx. So you had a there were some ninja games out there, right?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Why am I blanking on this Sega's one? It's like
Shinobi.
Shinobi.
Shinobi. I'm sure Shinobi was out there. So yeah. So
you had some stuff to compare to. It's it's obviously, like I said, the pedigree of Ninja Gaiden just kind of hard to ignore. But at this point, I'm pretty psyched. I'm pretty psyched to go through this game. I have a feeling that this is going to be something that I think. Yeah, I'm glad I said yes. I'm glad I said yes this time.
I love it. Once again, you have avoided Diva.
Oh my God, that's my fear. For anybody that my fear is coming onto this show one day and Diva Story 6 is the pick. That's my fear.
Oh man, I don't know when that'll come up. I'm curious, but also afraid. But also, I was like, when am I going to get my Castlevania? I have 2 Castlevania games on this thing now, and I just haven't gotten it yet. So.
Almost had this one.
That is true.
We just had a new one released. Could have been Castlevania Legends.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh well. But yeah, unless we have anything else to say about for our preconceptions of Shadow of the Ninja, shall we take our break and play it for the week?
Yep, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. We'll see you guys soon. And we're back after a week of playing Shadow of the Ninja for the NES, and I'm curious what we all thought about this one. Did we actually find a hidden gem this time? Let's start with you, Elliot. What did you think of Shadow of the Ninja?
Okay.
Uh-oh.
No. All right. I do like the game, like personally. Like it's very fun. It's like very. I love how action oriented it is. There are a few things where it's just like, why was this here? Like, like I will say, like I think like my least favorite weapon is actually the kunai that they have.
The throwing weapon?
The chain one, yeah.
The grappling weapon. Yeah. Well, it's not grapple. It's the hook on the chain. Kunai with chain.
Kunai with chain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I think that one is my least favorite weapon personally.
That is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
What did you think, Greg?
Man. It's okay. The problem that I'm having is that and I hate it because this is going to be a resounding theme for everything I have with this game, and that it's just very middle of the road. Like
Yeah.
it's good action, but it's not great action. It's got some okay ideas, but then it's got some of the ideas are muddled with nonsense. The music is great, but it's not super memorable. Like everything about the game is a perfectly middling NES game.
Yeah.
Slightly above the middle because the bottom half has to include things like hide glide.
Yeah. There's some really bad stuff, but I'd say this is slightly above average on this one because I found myself enjoying this one. As you said, Greg, it doesn't do any one thing great, but what it does is perfectly fine and kind of fun. One of the things I enjoyed about this game is that it seems perfectly beatable without having to use save states or the rewind functionality of the NSO. I still use it. I still used it by the end, but it's like it's one of those games like if you spend time on it, you could do it. But you need to learn patterns.
Kid me would have sat there for hours doing one stage over and over again to try and remember it down completely. And then I would have eaten my Frosted Flakes and went to bed and woke up, and after school I would have come home and I would have started all over again with another stage. Like young me would have just had a field day with this because it's fair.
It's a very fair game. There's moments where they're very much unfair. Like the beginning of stage 2, where they have those guys jumping out of the water. That's you just need to run. Eat the damage and run. That's all that matters.
I think for me, the most unfair one is actually in stage 4. You get those like spider-looking robots that are like jumping and then shooting projectiles, and then you also then you have the floor bombs. That don't give you any time to actually like get away from.
The ones on top of the guns?
Not that one. There's like these little purple floor bombs that are there, and then like when it explodes, you have like a rectangle hitbox to try to get away from.
You have to sort of bait it and then get out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a lot of that. There was a lot of spots where you're either supposed to just beat your head against the wall or like take the damage or something, and there were a few of those. There was a boss in particular. The boss, is it it's not the first boss, the second one? Where it goes back and forth off the screen. Off and on
the tank boss.
You got to jump on. Yeah, the tank.
Yeah.
You got to jump on it and you got to hit it and then run away from the bullet, but then also run away from the dropping bombs. But if you hit that thing more than once, you don't have enough time to get away. But if you just hit it the one time, first of all, the fight just takes forever. Yeah. But then even trying to hit it the one time, you might get rained down on. So it was just like, okay, come on, we're pushing it a little. I know it's only 5
kind of figured
stages,
that one out. Yeah, I kind of figured that one out though because I despite you guys not liking the kunai with Shane, that was my main weapon. It just felt
really?
Yeah, and that actually gave you the opportunity to get those hits in. I can understand why you didn't have the time to run in, swipe with the sword, and get back. But thanks to the kunai, I was able to jump up, hit it before it even came on screen, and then get on the edge, hit it 2 more times, or whenever it shifted over, because I think you could hit twice before it did its bullets.
Okay.
And then it was guarded. But you still were going to take damage from those drop bombs and get that. And yeah, there's definitely those traps. It definitely feels like certain sections are better for certain weapons, but it doesn't always necessarily give you the better weapon for that situation.
Yeah.
And which is fine. I guess.
For the tank boss, did you guys manage to take out that bottom laser so that you could use it as cover from the raining bombs?
I didn't know you could do that.
You could do that?
Yeah, you could do that. As soon as I found that out, I'm like, oh, all right, now this makes it a little easier.
Oh, come on!
I never even thought to hit that. I was just like, I don't know why. I just didn't.
I never got shot with it. I thought it was just an obstacle for when you had to drop. Rare times you had to drop down to the ground.
Yeah.
So I never bothered to shoot at it or swing at it.
Yeah,
I didn't. I mean, I don't
it,
know how much that would have helped, but
it actually does help out a lot because then it gives you that cover from the raining bombs, so you can go
that's
under
true.
it, and then you don't have to
That's
worry about
true.
getting
You
hit.
still
from it.
still have to do the long like
You
hit
still got
once,
to do
run away,
It's
all
still a
that.
process.
Yeah,
it's
that's
still
why
a process.
I feel like I'd be happier with that if I could hit the boss 2 or 3 times comfortably, and then it's like, okay, retreat to the bottom, hide, come back up, get 2 or 3 hits. If it's one hit, it just takes
Yeah.
it just and that's a modern day problem. Like I said, Kid
Yeah.
Me wouldn't have had a problem with it at all.
And-
Kid Me would have said, yeah, this is what you got to do.
And at least you are like somewhat rewarded for going a little ham on bosses, like and taking those hits because you get health back. You don't get it full health for the next level,
Yeah,
but you do
yeah.
get health back. So you're sort of like you can balance it out and
Yeah,
survive.
but
And
you don't get full health, so you can't tank the whole thing.
right,
Yeah.
right. But
Yeah.
health pickups are somewhat prevalent. It's not like all the time, but enough that you could sort of last.
I
Yeah.
found it more. I found them more sparse usually.
They were like they reminded me of like the meat from Castlevania.
Mhm.
There was maybe usually one per stage, maybe 2, but for the most part they were in there. There was you could play it enough and count on. All right, well there's probably a health coming up soon. There was one health in particular that I played through the game multiple times and I died multiple times on multiple runs. You come out of it's like the flame jets or something are shooting on angles
Yeah.
Yeah.
off the platform, and then when you get past it, there's I think you usually have the throwing stars by then. There's there's like 3 of those flying spider things.
I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about. That
And
area.
then there's a health right in the middle of them, and multiple playthroughs I have 1 health. I'm like, or 2 health. I'm like, I can tank it, and then I go in and I get bounced, and then I die. It's like, come
Yeah.
on, man.
that was a rewind section for me when I was going for my run where I was like, okay, I try to get as far as I could without rewinding. I can get to a certain point. Basically, as Elliot said, once I hit stage 4, that's when I need to like really start the rewind
Yeah.
functionality because I
Yeah.
tried to get it, but then I got down to my last life. I was like, well, I can't just tank it anymore. I just gotta
Yeah.
actively try to keep myself alive. But yeah, dodging all those, it took me a while to get the pattern just right on how you take care of them.
Yeah.
It's an odd thing because you would think the kunai with chain would be the better weapon, but it has a very specific hitbox where
Yeah.
you need to be a certain distance away. You can't just be whatever distance. You have to.
Yeah. It's
perfectly line
only
up.
on the blade part. It's not
Yes.
like, and there's no travel. It's you swing the weapon and the hitbox is far out.
Yeah.
And it's not like it travels the distance so that it does damage along the way. Like, it's an older game.
It's not a Belmont whip.
You're not
Exactly.
swinging. You're swinging. The whole thing is not a hitbox. It's just like, and that's kind of what bothered me. And I think that's probably Elliot the same thing. Is it was very odd to use based on
Yeah.
how it looked.
Mm-hmm.
And like even then, you're also like extremely limited on movement with it as well. So it's like, in terms of direction, so it's like
Yeah.
you can only go straight or diagonal, and
You-
straight up.
Yeah, straight up. You
can't
just
go
I
straight
think
up.
down.
you can't jump. It's like he said, like it's not the Belmont whip. It
Yeah.
doesn't give you the free range of motion that you would expect that to be.
And it's not
the
quick
better
enough for
weapon.
those things that
Ye-
go along the ground. Because
Yeah.
that take 2 hits. You can get that 1 hit,
Yeah.
but they'll hit you that second time. You're just not quick enough.
There's
Yeah,
a buffer, like from when you swing it to the time that it's actually out. Like from when you push the button, it felt like there was like we call it lag, but it felt like there was a delay, and it's just like, okay, I need this to be responsive. Plus, and Derrick, since this was your weapon, is there a powered up version?
There is, but it's not obvious because obviously you lose that power up version if you take too many hits.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep a hold of it, but eventually you do have it where you do have a little bit of a force out, even extended beyond that where it lands. So
Okay.
it does extend a bit, but it felt like I had to get like 2 of them before I noticed a difference.
The sword is like that. The sword has like 2 or 3 levels of power up.
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons I like the sword. Once I get the sword and I get one more sword, I've already got that little beam in front of me, and
Yeah.
that was actually very helpful.
Yeah,
Even on the
Right.
tank boss, it let me swing and then maybe get 2 hits in before I had to run back because I was able to do it from far away.
Yeah, I would definitely say the sword definitely comes in clutch in this game.
It's funny. I eventually got my spacing down and knew, and it was all about for me figuring out where I needed to jump and what I needed to, like, what do I fight,
Yeah.
what do I avoid, and
Yeah.
basing it off that. And I found myself like, the moment that I was like, I don't want to use a sword anymore was those like cat girl enemies in this that like
Yeah.
are perfectly positioned where they just like doing those incremental slashes, and it's so hard to get close to them and get that
Oh, yeah.
timing. So I was like,
Okay.
I'm just going to use the whip, and oh, hey, this is actually working out. I can
Yeah.
stay away from them. But then it's very ineffective against those football guys that just like to push you around. I'm like,
Oh my god.
okay.
I just started jumping and let them fall to their death or
Yep.
something.
Pretty much.
There's also like the times where it's like you need to really figure out the distance of how of like where of when you can actually hit them. Like stage 5, there's those like purple enemies where they just keep swinging the sword, like it's like
Oh,
jab,
yeah.
jab, 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 jab,
I
jab,
think I
jab.
remember them.
Mhm.
And then like I swung at the sword, so I was like, all right, so I need to barely like get I need to barely touch the point of their sword so that I can actually hit them.
Yeah, and I didn't have to worry about that. I could just stay a certain distance away
Yeah,
and be
you
able to hit them.
Derrick's like sounds like a you problem, bud. So
I'm
enjoy
actually
your
really glad.
enjoy your fighting, sword boy.
I really like the fact that we all did something a little different, like, because we could have that
Yeah.
notes comparison of what weapon kind of works out.
Yeah.
Feel like there needs to be another one,
Yeah, a third
It-
weapon, I think, would have
right?
been nice.
I don't know, like something slow that could do some good damage was like the hook thing. You got the sword, which is basic, and like the stars, for instance. Which there were 2 of them, right? Am I crazy that there was like
So
There was
it took me
there
a
was
while
the
to
shurikens
and
Yeah.
the daggers?
and the daggers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you also got grenades that you could throw.
Oh, and
Yes.
the grenades.
Yeah, you had the
which
grenades.
the grenades were
So-
weird.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure those out, but all right.
So
Um,
weird.
So I figured it out. The difference between I'm pretty sure, because it's the same symbol, but sometimes you get shurikens and sometimes you get the throwing kunai.
Yeah.
And I think it was determined by whether or not your sword, your weapon was powered up. It transferred over to that, and that's what powered it up.
Okay.
I think.
All right. No, that makes sense. Actually, it makes sense because I did throw a dagger. I was throwing daggers and then I got hit and then I was suddenly throwing stars.
Yeah. So I think
So there was
it's
a point where
tied
that
into
happened.
the level of your main weapon.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
I
Yeah.
will-
Good.
I was gonna say the thing with the bombs, they actually were very helpful with the that Falcon.
Oh yes, the
'Cause,
Falcon
like-
boss.
Yeah, because like
I
you
didn't
got
get
that
my-
guy that's like has the Falcon
Which
that's
one?
like hovering, and then they can try to
Oh,
hit you.
the guy.
And then-
yeah.
Yeah, and then hit him long enough, he becomes like an armored like Falcon.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
human.
I think that
I
was the
remember.
worst boss in the game. That was when I was like,
Really?
to
Wasn't
me,
he the last boss?
No,
Was he the last-
it was.
No, he wasn't.
it
the
was
last
no,
boss.
he was the end of the 4th stage boss.
Yes.
Okay.
He to me, his pattern was so hard to read because there was no indication of when he was going to swoop you, and I
Yeah.
had to just try to bait him at all times and be always moving and try to get that right spot. But so often he would just get me at the wrong spot and bam, there's 3 health gone, and hitting him in response. Maybe it's because I was using the kunai with chain. I was having a more difficult time because I'd only get 2 hits in or whatever. But he gave me so much trouble. I was pulling my hair out. I was like, all right, rewind.
Yeah, he's the one I think if you go into the corner and you wait, like he'll still try and get at you, but if you just sort of stand near the corner, usually when you run, like if you run in right as he starts moving, because he doesn't always target you dead on, so he would usually end up next to you, and it would give you a little bit of extra time, and then you could walk
have
over,
that.
and then you could just start swinging at him.
Dang, I didn't have that. I
Like
didn't
that,
get
like that's what I'm saying. That's the sort of stuff that kid me would have been like, oh my god, look at this thing that I figured out because I've read Nintendo Power.
then there's me. I kind of really like that boss fight.
Oh,
Personally.
really?
was a good fight.
I had a very fun time with that boss. It's like, I'm like, yeah, it's like there's no indication, but then it's like that keeps you on your toes. You know, it's like, oh, is he gonna swing? No. Oh, there he goes. You know?
Yeah.
I eventually got an idea of when it was going to happen, but it still was very hit or miss for me.
There were no telegraphs. There's no, certain games they do stuff like that, and it's like, oh, these lights on the boss flash before this thing happens. And there wasn't anything like that, and people might laugh like, oh, this guy's he wants all the modern stuff. Like, no, they used to do that as a kid. Mike Tyson's Punch Out, every fighter had like a giveaway for what they were gonna do. Even Mike Tyson.
They followed a very specific pattern, like the devil, the yellow devil in Mega Man. So.
Oh yeah. It looks like it's impossible. It's like, no, just jump the same exact way every time. It's like you said earlier, it's a pattern. Like you have to memorize all the patterns.
That was the issue for me, is I couldn't get his pattern down because it was just hover for a bit, after like 4 seconds, swoop.
Yeah.
So, final boss. Well, we'll get to them. I get them later if you guys want to have talk about something else first.
It was all the music.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of the music? I liked the music. I thought it was okay. It just
good in the moment, but I couldn't tell you a beat.
Remember it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I remember the first level just because I played the first level the most. Maybe we'd think that way about Contra music if we played Contra for the first time today. I don't know.
I'm hard to say. I will say I don't think either any of us got a chance to try out the multiplayer, right?
No.
Well, multiplayer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like co-op, right?
Yeah, 2-player co-op.
Yeah.
No, I didn't get a chance to try.
I'm curious what that would be like,
neither.
because it seems much more customized for a single player experience. I feel like it would be a little tougher if you had a second player there.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like it's just like in that same realm of Contra, actually, where it's like, all right, you just two players, go do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the game doesn't seem like it was built specifically for that.
Yeah.
As the years went on, you had games where, oh, well, we're going to give you double the power-ups, or we've got this thing that you have to do, and now in 2-player mode there's 2 of them. Like it just felt like Contra. Like, this is built to play through the game. If you want to have somebody else there, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there's some patterns like where it's very like specialized towards one player. like only one player is going to be able to dodge this. So
yeah, so they're going to be stacked on each other the whole time. It's going to look like the same game, which is fine. That's all we needed back then. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And as Dan Alpha Line mentions, the simultaneous 2-player co-op was something that very few games did. I mean, even the original Double Dragon did not have 2-player co-op.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
So
Like the games that I know that had 2-player co-op were Super C, Contra 1, and Battletoads.
yeah.
Yeah, Contra, Battletoads, Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles, yeah.
Ninja Turtles.
And that's probably some of the earlier and the sports games. Early like pro wrestling and volleyball and soccer. I think they're
but more so in terms of co-op, not competitive.
Co-op action games, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that's when it's a little less.
I like pro wrestling.
I hear it's a good one.
That was pretty action.
Yeah.
I will say though, playing this game has me excited for that remake.
Yeah. Especially like seeing that trailer and seeing what they're doing with it is like, this looks way better than what the original was. Like, they're taking the concept of the original and really just upping the action and doing more with it. I wonder if it'll be a short, if they'll lengthen it.
They
have to lengthen
it. Yeah, they have to do more.
Because it's 5 stages, 3 levels each, like 3 sections that you go through.
Yeah.
Roughly,
and then the last one, it was 4, but then the 4th was always the boss.
Right.
I think so. Right.
Something like, there's sometimes a stage before you got to the boss. But yeah.
See, the stages like in terms of like placement was weird, because like you go through like stage 1 and 2 is like, all right, there's segments there. Stage 3, that doesn't have segmented parts. Neither did stage 4.
Yeah, they get longer for sure.
4 didn't? I could have sworn 4 did.
5 did.
I feel like there were segments, but they took longer to get to. Like, they all of a sudden felt like the stages had way more to get to, and you die, you're back to the beginning of that stage unless you reach a boss, and it's just like,
yeah.
And you only have 5 lives, and there's no options to increase that or anything like that. 5 lives, no continues, which is why I'm actually kind of shocked that the difficulty is as fair as it seems. Like, it's still tough. This is still NES tough, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I don't think it's NES tough.
Yeah.
I don't think it's hard the way people think NES games are. When I hear that, I hear Mega Man, Ghosts and Goblins, Silver Surfer, like these games that they just feel impossible.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this, like playing the first stage, I just remember thinking like, yeah, this seems like a Ninja Gaiden clone without the BS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you have your little swing up between levels and whatnot. That was a fun little animation to go between that you could do on occasion.
Something extra.
Doesn't get that too often, but yeah, looking at other games, like I'm trying to think, like if Castlevania was set up like this, where you only had 5 lives to get through all of Castlevania, it's like, yeah, that'd be impossible. It's like it's weirdly it's balanced better because it has limited lives, rather than like we're gonna go pretty hard on this and we just have infinite lives, that sort of thing.
Yeah. It's funny because I was gonna say because they treat them like continues. Yeah. It's 1 life and then 5 continues. Yeah. So it's not like when you die, you just start right there. You have to go back to whatever the checkpoint was, which they had. I think they had mid-stage checkpoints, right? It wasn't just like, or was it all the way back at the beginning?
All the way back to the beginning, from my understanding.
I mean, they weren't super long levels, so fine, but
yeah, it was still like, I gotta do this all over again.
But again, it saves an otherwise super short game.
Yeah, because you could easily beat this in a half an hour.
Yeah, if you had unlimited lives or you died and started right where you were, you would just brute force your way through the game and you'd be done in half an hour.
Mm-hmm. I wish the 2 characters were slightly different in some way. I feel like that's a way you could have gotten the weapons to be a little different.
A little bit.
Yeah, like I was gonna ask, like, who did you guys play as when you were playing this game?
I swapped back and forth each time I went to play. So I started with the guy, went to the girl, so forth. I beat it as the girl, though.
Oh, I beat it as the guy, but I did the same thing. I went back and forth. At first, I went back and forth thinking, all right, well, let's see if their cutscenes are different or if they're if they feel any different. One, the old Ken and Ryu Street Fighter 2 complaint where no, I'm telling you, man, Ken's faster and Ryu's stronger. It's like, no, they're literally the exact same thing. But I swapped back and forth for that, but they were just exactly the same thing.
Yeah, like there was like I beat it as the guy and then started another playthrough as the girl. And I'm like, and then as soon as I got to the first boss, I was like, oh, okay, they're literally the same.
Yeah, it's exactly the same game.
So there's no point then.
Satisfaction of beating them both.
There you go.
We do have a story ostensibly, nothing major. It's literally just it's 2029. We got this random dictator named Garuda. Ninjas go assassinate him and fight through his forces. Then you get to it, defeat him. Congratulations, you killed the dictator. You slipped into the shadows until the next mission arrives.
Yeah,
there's your story.
The dartboard plot, as I like to call it, which is you take all the descriptives and then you empty out it's like Mad Libs where you're just like, let's see, the year is 0x. The evil dictator we'll come up with something for that later, right? You just like you go through all of the elements.
He's defeated by
ninjas. All right. Well, hey, the dartboard giveth.
Hey! How many ninjas?
Yeah.
2.
Bullseye. Oh, okay. Hold on. I'll throw again. All right, 2.
Okay. Well, we got to make one of them a female.
Yeah, well, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
We'll go back and forth, and if we have a third one, you make the third one a robot. That's just how it works.
That is exactly how you do that. Definitely.
You know the rules, and so do I. I mean, ultimately, it was a decent game. It was very, very middle NES game, the kind of game that after everybody's done talking about Castlevania and Contra. Then someone says, "You ever play this game, Shadow of the Ninja?" Oh yeah, I kind of like that one.
It's all right, yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
It's literally the middle of the conversation.
Yeah. As far as the final boss, I I was very happy with myself because I discovered a pattern with him pretty early on. I'm like, oh, sweet. This is just how I dodge his stuff, get a hit in and go.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he has a ton of health, so it's going to take a while. Then he gets to his like last third of his health, and all of a sudden he starts changing up the pattern. Like, oh hell!
Oh yeah,
And I
he
have
like
to
went
figure
off.
that out. Crap. Yeah. He's just like, oh shit, he's pissed.
Everything just he had like a soft enrage. Everything just went crazy all at one time. Yeah, it's like it's like I remember it, and at the same time I'm having trouble picturing it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The problem is it's like, man, I just beat this yesterday, and I just don't. And that's probably just time. That's if I were to play this game a lot longer, but you're kind of done with it. I think it's a decent game. I think it's cool, but yeah, you just kind of you fight the boss, and you're like, all right, well,
Yeah.
I think I got it.
Yeah, it
Alright.
felt satisfying because, as Dan Alphaline mentions, he had these tornadoes that he would bring up. And yes, they were tough
Yeah.
to dodge. And I had to rewind because I only did that. But there was a point where I didn't rewind that much because I found the right footing to
Yeah.
like just be there, get a hit in, get moved to the next spot, dodge that, duck, jump, whatever, and you're good. And it really felt like a lot. It was just a cool moment there until he changed it up. He's like, oh shit, I have to find it again.
But then you just brute force your way through the last part of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was that auto-scrolling set piece, Dead Alpha Lion, right before the final boss, which was
Is that the one where you're going up?
yeah, you're constantly going
Yeah.
up, and you have these
Yeah.
like things shooting at you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hated it.
I was so little health, I had to rewind constantly. Just like I couldn't fight anything. It's just dodge, dodge, dodge. Like hopefully I don't get hit by these things.
I will tell you this. I spent about 90%, no, not even, 98% of that game with 1 bar of health.
Oh no, that's not
Man, skill issue.
good. But hey, he ended with 5 continues.
Yeah.
No, I had all 5 of my continues. I used
The bad guys just saw this ninja limping his way to victory without ever failing.
I feel like you during one of those fights, you probably could have just died and let yourself get full health and have a little bit of a
See, I could have, but here's the thing. I hate myself.
oh, there you go. Fair.
And real quick, have you guys seen how much Shadow the Ninja, like, the cartridge is going for, like,
I've
on
not
eBay
looked that
and
up.
such?
Is that one of the pricey
Holy
ones?
hell.
Is it?
Like,
oh wow.
yeah, on like average, it's about $80 like by itself.
Dang. I would not think that. I guess it was just a rare one of those rarer cartridges. Because it's not something I heard
depends
about
on-
a ton. But
Yeah, it probably late in the life of the system or something.
yeah, that makes sense.
So you know what? Hey, it's on NSO.
Yeah, it saves that. But
Yeah, 83, 86, 62, yeah. So about $60, yeah.
yeah,
All right.
it's
Not
up
bad.
there.
Not bad.
Honestly, I feel like if I can get
$3.50 complete.
if it's around 60, if it's a game I really want, it's like, you know what, I'll suffer that because at least it's the same as a
Yeah.
modern game, and it's like, okay, I can sort of justify that in my head. When
Yeah.
you get into the
Like-
hundreds, it's like, ugh.
Like I paid $60 for a complete copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Xbox.
Oh my god.
Hey, that's a good
It's
version.
like, but
of
it's
the
like,
game,
you
though.
know what? It's $60. I'm not gonna find this that cheap.
No,
That's a
no.
good version of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that speaks well about the service, though. I think that it's exactly why it's worth it to have these services. $50 and you have. I mean, this is a NES game, so this is $20. So if you're just paying the
Yeah.
$20 a year, you have access to this.
Yeah.
But if you even with the $50, it's for the kinds of games that you're getting that have exactly like this kind of money here. If you wanted to have an opportunity to play something like Shadow of the Ninja on the up and up,
Yeah.
you do it through this. You pay $20 and you get to play it as much
Yeah.
as you want.
Same with like Castlevania Legends.
You know?
and
Yeah.
whatnot. There's some certain games
Yeah,
that
oh
got
my
re-releases that don't typically have re-releases, and that's kind of nice.
Doesn't the Genesis thing have Data of Sensi?
Yeah.
I think it does.
And
Yeah.
I think that's the
That
first time it's
is-
ever been re-released as well.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and that's like a $200-$300 game. That game is ridiculously expensive.
Thank God.
Yeah, but you have access to it, and I like Shadow of the Ninja for that. I like that it's a good example of it's a semi decent game. It's so middle of the road that you probably wouldn't really have played it.
Yeah.
If you hear about the really good ones and you want to try the really good ones, and then sometimes you hear about the really bad ones and you think, oh, I gotta see how bad this is. It's the ones in the middle that always get kind of stuck, and
Yeah.
they don't.
Where
There's not a lot, whenever there's a conversation, it's one extreme or the other. It's not really
it's
anybody
either the
talking about
best
the
of the
middle.
best or the worst of the worst, and the middle
Yeah.
of the road doesn't really get featured all that often. And
Yeah, they get left behind. They're your Twilight Princess doesn't have you. I have a personal beef with Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
We know.
I know. It's a new audience. They may not understand.
They might not know. Yeah.
They might not know.
But yeah, I think, I mean, unless there's anything else we want to say, again, it's a 30-minute game. There's not a whole lot you can really go over with this one.
A very average, like middle of the road 30-minute title.
Yeah.
There are worse ways to spend 30 minutes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If
you want to just experience some NES classic stuff, see what sort of was some of the other lesser known games was, this is a good one to pick out, I think.
Yeah, and I don't even mean that like in a harsh way, like, oh, there's worse ways to spend. I mean, there's literally a lot of games that you could try out and say, oh, I'll give this a shot, and they're way worse than this. It's worth it.
Greg knows some experience.
Yeah, absolutely. They're all in the same place.
Have you heard him talk about Twilight Princess?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, it's decent though. Give it a shot. If you've got NSO, give this a shot. I don't think you.
Well, let's go ahead and make that official though, because I believe we've said all we wanted to say about Shadow of the Ninja. But what's our final verdict? Would you recommend it as an N yeso or tell people to stay away with an N oh no? Elliot, let's start with you.
If you want to give it a shot, I would say N yeso. Just because like it's there. It's like it's not terrible, but it's not great either. It's just like you're just looking for something that's like, oh, I haven't seen this before. Let me try this out. It's like that. Just I'd say give it a try.
Yeah. What about you, Greg?
And yeso all the way. I actually do. Obviously, it's easy to play. This is not NSO. Go out there and spend $80 on the game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's and if you have the service, give it a whirl. If you were going to spend $80, just to play the game, then spend your $20 and get NSO, and you can play it that way.
Exactly.
I think that it's like we've said, it's middle of the road, but it's a good road. It's a 5-6 out of 10 for a retro NES platformer is still very, very playable, and it's very enjoyable. And with the remake coming out, go into it refreshed and understand the upgrade.
Yeah. I think it's a perfectly fine, as we said, 7 out of 10 type of game. It's it's pretty good. And honestly, I had fun with it. I like that we have an NES game here that is tough, but not impossible tough. You're not beating your head against the wall, because there are definitely those out there that do that. This feels like a fair difficulty balance, and if you want, you can even go through the game without having to use rewind and just do a save state at the beginning of each level and recreate that. You die and you run out of lives, just restart at the beginning of the level, and you can still basically have that, and there's your infinite continues sort of thing. And I think it's still perfectly beatable that way. It'll get tough by the end for sure. It definitely ramps up the challenge, but I think it's like you dedicate enough time and you can do it. Or if you don't want to dedicate that time and just want to see it to the end, there you go. It's not a bad way to spend a half hour if you want to check out more of the NSO. So I would also recommend it. So
definitely worth it.
Yeah. And what about all of you? Have you played Shadow of the Ninja before, or was this your first time? And before we go, where can everyone find you at? Greg, let's have you plug away first.
I am in multiple places. I'm on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter at SilverGreg78. I mostly stream. I'm on Twitch, so I am at twitch.tv/Uncle Silver. And I'm on YouTube as well. What is it? Uncle Silver Gaming? It might be Uncle Silver Gaming. Over on YouTube. I don't upload too much there, but it's definitely worth checking out. And I appreciate the follows and the subs and blah 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 blah.
Absolutely. What about you, Elliot?
Like Uncle, same places. You can find me on Twitter.
I forgot one. I have to get. Hold on. I keep forgetting. This is relevant. I keep forgetting. I'm also over on YouTube. We're part of the group called SGB, the Super Gaming Brothers.
I figured one of you. I thought you were just saving it for Elliot.
Yeah, I have to get used to it.
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Creepy Elliot. You can also find me with Uncle on SGB Likes to Play on YouTube. And I also stream myself on Twitch over at the Haunted Arcade. So if you like some horror times and just having a good old hangout, just come to the Haunted Arcade, which in fact I'm streaming tonight at around 4 or 5 hours.
There you go. Yep, for those watching live. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And thank you both for joining me. Definitely check out both of them. Love both these two. And hey, if all you lovely viewers enjoyed this episode, let us know in the comments, and please consider supporting us at patreon.com/gvgaming, which includes our live audience tier that will allow you to watch Game Club live as it's being recorded. But even just subscribing and hitting that bell helps us a ton. But now it's time for the Wheel of Games to choose next week's title, as I'm joined by my special guests, Rebecca Stone and Josh Jepson. Are you both ready to see what we're playing?
Yes.
I'm so excited. It could be anything.
It really could. There's been some new ones since you were on last, so there's all kinds of possibilities here. So
I'm hoping for something N64. I know all of the N64.
Oh, I mean, there was a lineup here where we got a bunch of N64 games. It was like one right after the other. So we'll see if that continues. So let's bring up the wheel and spin it and see what the Wheel of Games has in store for us this week. And this week we are playing Fire and Ice on the NES.
What?
Oh,
I don't know what that is.
I have
I don't know
no
what that is
idea.
either.
I
don't know what
NES
that
is
is.
scary.
I have
NES.
Only a little bit less scary than Genesis.
yeah, at least somewhat familiar with it.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it.
Wow.
We'll see you next time as we cover Fire and Ice for the NES. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye.